Greetings and welcome to another friendly debate here at Words About Games, a fortnightly debate show where we try to make a top 5 list collaboratively through the art of debate and discourse. I'm Amy, that's Keith. This is our third episode of doing friendly debate, and we're starting to get a handle on what this actually is, because we went into this with a very loosely defined criteria of what we wanted this to be and what we wanted it to do. And I think we're both really actually enjoying it, which is a nice feeling. So, this week, this fortnight, this day, we're doing top 5 games consoles, and I have a pre-prepared whiteboard that I will get in a shot. It's a little bit longer than the last one we did.
It will soon be cut down to 5.
Yes, it will. This is how friendly debate works, everybody. We are going to take turns cutting things off of this list one by one. Someone will make a choice, and then the other person will argue, either in defense of not cutting it, or in defense of cutting it. Because, to be fair, we're pretty good at debating in a friendly manner. Hence the title of the show. I feel like I nailed the title of the show, Friendly Debate. Xbox
Nailed it.
Xbox One's getting knocked off for a second there. I'll just pull that back up. Once we've gotten down to the final 5, the rules change slightly, but I'll talk about those when we get there. Lastly, don't take this list too seriously. It's completely subjective. We can make arguments for anything we want. There is no objectivity involved. We're not talking about the most powerful console, or the best console, or the best-selling console. You will notice that the best-selling console is not on here. Because neither of us liked it. We got the list by both of us making a top 7, unordered. And then I put them together, and we were left with 11 games. 11 games consoles. I'm still in BioWare mode. So, shall we get to it? Have I explained it sufficiently? So, just to read the list out for anyone who's listening to this video without actually watching it, we have 11 games consoles on the master list, and those are the Atari 2600, the PlayStation, and then I wrote in brackets PS1 because that could get confusing, the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 4, NES, Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch, Sega Master System, Sega Saturn, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. So the current generation is fully covered in this list. As always, I'm going to throw things over to my co-host to make the first pick for a cut.
Who now proves he's actually here to anyone not watching this.
I'm sure you said 1 or 2 words.
Yes. So, first cut. Well, to begin with, I kind of chose mine off consoles that I've owned and or have had a lot of play with, because there's one now which I haven't owned but have played with quite a bit out of the ones I've chosen. Kind of forgot I could have chose the best selling console of all time, because I have played with it, but I didn't really see it as a console as well as like an exercise machine. So why it sold a lot.
That is why it sold a lot.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, but we shall not name it, for it is not on this list.
Yes. I kind of wish I'd chose it instead of the one I'm about to cut, where I'm choosing one of my own picks.
Oh my god, he's pulling a me from episode 1.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to cut one of the fastest selling consoles, the PS4.
Okay, make your
Eyes
case.
wide in shock, eh?
Make your case.
Yeah, I hear a lot about how the PS4 is like the only place to game, and how it's like the place for gamers, and how it sells. Like, there's so many copies of it. Like, everyone who's ever gamed in their life must own a copy, like own a console. But my
You need
personal
to widen
experience,
your social media stratosphere if that's what you're hearing.
I should stop listening to marketing people. That's what it is. My personal experience with the PlayStation 4, which hasn't been turned on this year, is basically I bought it because someone kept persuading me like all these great games were coming out on PS4 that I wouldn't be able to get on the Xbox, and that these great games and that I should get it, and like I had the perfect opportunity with the way money was going and the discounts, like a deal I could get, and I got it with a game called Neo because I just finished playing The Witcher 3.
If you'd have asked, would have told you not to buy. That was not my fault.
You really liked Neo.
I fucking love Neo, but I knew you wouldn't.
Yeah, so I got it. I got a game which I felt was kind of disappointing for it because I wasn't good at it. It wasn't really my thing. It wasn't as witchery as I thought it was going to be. It was Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's very much a Dark Souls.
It is a Dark Souls game, and I never played a Dark Souls game or a Dark Souls type game. And the lore of it and stuff like sounds really cool and everything. I mean, Bloodborne sounds really cool, but I don't play it because I'm not that sort of person. That sort of game isn't me. So I was very disappointed with it. On the other hand, the reason it's on here is like I have gotten my money's worth out of this game based on one game alone, which is Persona 5. And damn, that is a good game.
One might call it game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for a few of us, like on Words About Games. I mean, it's got good stuff going for it. It deserves like recognition for what it is, which is a piece of hardware which is almost ubiquitous in Western male culture at this point. But I don't believe it should be on a top any like top 5 list, and I don't think it should be in the top 10, which is why it's the first game I'm voting the kick to the curb.
Okay, well, anyone watching this will notice that I am frantically have and I've been listening to every word. That's why I was interjecting. But I've been frantically writing on a notepad, and the reason I'm frantically writing on a notepad is because I had a feeling this was going to happen, but I did not expect it to happen immediately. And I'm writing down my counter argument. Would you like to hear my counter argument? I've written it down.
Yeah.
It's quite succinct. And hell no, I don't agree that this should be cut, at least not yet anyway. Here's my counter argument. God of War, Persona 5, Spider-Man, Bloodborne, Neo, Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted 4, Uncharted The Lost Legacy. I guess you could technically count Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection. The Last of Us Remastered, Until Dawn, Shadow of the Colossus, Tearaway Unfolded. That last one's just as good as all the other ones. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. This console has quite possibly the best exclusive experiences of the modern age. Obviously, going back to like old Nintendo days when like Mario and Zelda and stuff were exclusives to Nintendo. It's like you can't compete with that. But that list of games is the reason why I feel like it should rise. And maybe I won't be able to do an I should carry it all the way to the top 5. Who knows? But like there are so many exceptional experiences that you can't get anywhere else. Apart from Neo, which is also on PC, but it's a Bandai Namco port, so it doesn't really work very well. So I count it.
I mean, a lot of ports like the PC don't work very well.
Yeah.
I have issue with the remastered thing because it's like it was brought out like a year later on a different console, and it didn't really do much for it. It was a brilliant game on the like PlayStation 3, but it didn't change much. At all.
No. But what it did do is it allowed people like me who didn't own a PS3 but did buy a PS4 be able to actually play it, which I will.
I have a word for you, which is backwards compatibility. But I think that may come up later.
Look, right, you know me. I've been accused many times of being a PlayStation fanboy, girl, whatever, person. It's true. I am. I'm a PlayStation fangirl. I'm also a Nintendo fangirl, an Xbox fangirl, a PC fangirl, a Sega fangirl, and everything else fangirl because I'm a fucking games fangirl. That's what I am. I love games. I don't care what platform they're on. But when there are this many extraordinary experiences that I can only get with a PlayStation 4. I can't in good conscience sit here and agree that it should be cut ahead of some of the other stuff on here. And I am looking at this list going, this is the toughest one we've done yet, and it may be the toughest one we do for a while. This could be like a 5-hour long video. We could be here a
this
while.
Is going to be the one where we cut, and the only reason you win on this is because I have to go to work in the morning.
I class that as a concession. But, as per the rules of friendly debate, it's not up to me whether this gets cut. It's up to you as to whether I have persuaded you for a stay of execution. Knowing that I have done all that I can do.
I'm willing to postpone it getting cut from a top 10, and I'll hear your count of which one you think should get cut first. And we'll maybe come back to this.
Yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? I've got to actually now pick one that I think should get cut. Oh no. I am going to go in for my first pick for a cut on the Sega Master System.
Mm.
And I owned a Sega Master System, because while I am responsible for 66% of the Nintendo consoles that are on this list, I was actually a Sega kid. Because back in the day, we didn't get to choose what consoles we got. We got bought games consoles by our parents because we said we wanted games consoles.
Yeah. I should have put a 2 on the end of this, but I don't think it really mattered.
Sega Master System, I'll put 2.
Yeah.
There you go. Done. Yeah. Like, I have fond memories of my Master System. I have fond memories of my Mega Drive. Yeah. I didn't get a Saturn. I can't remember what I got that generation. I got the PlayStation. But it just... I think if it had been the Mega Drive, like, instead of the Master System, I would have had a harder time cutting it. As I've talked about many times on various podcasts and videos, like, I've always played games, like, for as long as I can remember. When I had an Amstrad 64, I think it was a 64 when I was like a kid, but I never really massively got into gaming until the PlayStation 1. So there's a lot of this that isn't nostalgia fueled for me when you go far enough back. And the Master System, I remember enjoying it. I definitely remember there was a cool Sonic the Hedgehog game on there. But
Sonic the Hedgehog games on it.
But I don't remember what I played on. Like, I can tell you, like, a list of 10 Mega Drive games I played. And I was one of the only people in the world, I feel like, who got Sonic the Hedgehog 2 built into their Mega Drive instead of Alex the Kid. But I don't really remember. Like, I couldn't name you Master System games. Like, I couldn't name you any Master System games that I played. And I definitely own one.
Would you like me to name some?
And I mean, yeah, sure, go for it.
Right. See, the reason that my list is based on my experience with games and games consoles. So there is a Sega Master System 2, which was at my house, and me and my brother and my sister used to play on it. And then it got moved because I got a Saturn, my brother and sister got PlayStations. And I went to my grandparents' house. And then I would play it when we went over there. And then my cousins, who are over a decade younger than me, 13 years younger than me, they got to play on the Sega Master System at my grandparents' houses. And then after they died, that gaming system went to their house and it's still plugged in somewhere.
Wow,
and it is one of the ones with Alex the Kid. The Tales of in Shinobi Land or something built into it, which will occasionally activate no matter what cartridge you're having up.
Brilliant.
I know that rock, paper, scissors boss, and there are other games in it. Like there's the original Sonic is one of the games on it. Sonic 2 is on it. I did do some research on this. I'm trying to remember. Castle of Illusion, that like Mickey Mouse game. It's like I don't think it's the first, but I think it's like one of the first like Disney games where it's like Disney characters. There is a game, what's it called? Outrun.
Played
It's like
Outrun in Yakuza 6. I played that in Yakuza 6.
It is a legendary Sega game, and it was one of the games I played with that. There's a game, I can't remember what it was, but I used to play a lot, where you start off as like this like a tiny like 5-pixel bike in the center of the screen, and you go up, and as you go along, you pick up upgrades, and then you become a car, then a better car, then your car grows wings and jet engines, and you fly.
Okay.
It is one of those games where you die, you go back to the very beginning. And I have so
All
many
games
memories.
like that.
Yeah, I have so many memories of these games. And then watching the next generation playing these games at my grandparents' house, and then going on. I was just like, this has to go on the list. This is like this console has lasted for, I want to say, 25 years.
Damn, son. I had 4 Xbox 360s.
Yeah, it was a different era. It was a different time, and it brought joy.
I mean, all of yeah.
Yeah, I'm just memeing. It brought joy, and like seeing it brings joy to me still, because I think we still have the original box upstairs in our loft. It had a massive impact on gaming that would like move forward on like getting people into games, even if you can't say, oh, it had the best graphics ever, or oh, it like had the best soundtracks, because honestly the soundtracks all sounded digitalized because they were.
Because they
Messing around with Scarlet, man.
I mean, are you capitulating? Didn't sound like you were.
It's like, I started about, let me explain what this means to me, then it's like,
Because, I mean, I can't, without looking like the worst person in the world, I can't do anything but put a star next to that now.
we're gonna end up with 11 stars, aren't we?
No, definitely not.
This may be the one where we end up going, okay, we both agree on this one can stay, and then working backwards.
It's possible. This is a very new video series, and as I explained in the previous episode, and didn't really explain in this one, like, we came into this with no real idea what it was, and we're figuring it out as we go. Like, did you know in the last episode, apparently we can trade? Because we did that. I'll let you cut this instead of this. If you let me keep this, a game which ended up at number 4 on that last week's list. So I'm putting a star next to that. I don't care if you agree to cut it or not. I can't. I'll look like a heartless bitch if I cut that now.
Yeah. See, I've got a feeling we're coming like some kind of answer. You're like, oh, this is a Paramount. It like had this massive thing for gaming. Where I'm coming from an emotional level.
No.
So
no. I mean, PS4 for sure. Like, it was both for me.
Yeah.
But no, there will be things that we can cut. I've got a very controversial one I'm willing to cut. I'm not willing to tell you which one it is, because that would be too easy. But it is your pick. Let's see what we can do. We've still got 11 games consoles on the list for anyone that doesn't remember the initial list. It is the Atari 2600, the PS1, the PS2, the PS4, the NES, the Nintendo 64, the Switch, the Master System 2, the Sega Saturn, the Xbox 360, and the Xbox One.
I'm trying to guess which ones that you'll capitulate on. I'm going to go with NES.
To meme and reference an old movie. You chose poorly, but go on.
The only reason I know what this looks like is a meme, which is, it's one of those demotivational poster sort of ones where it's like, there is the controller of this, like, around a naked woman's neck, and it's like...
This is your argument?
Yeah. No, it's like, and it's just like, oh look, it's like, you distract that, I'll grab the SNES and run. SNES and run. I know that this is like a really popular gaming amongst like people who love the retro aesthetic, but I can't say I've ever played one. I have only seen one in the flesh because we went to that gaming convention at the Life Centre. And I can't think of a single game off the top of my head which was on it, which is the reason why I'm going to say cut this, because I kind of prepared my defences as opposed to my attacks.
You can't think of it. Okay. It's the same argument. It's the same argument, part 2. And you know what? Do you know why you should be scared of this argument
Why?
over the last argument? Because this time I didn't write a list. This time it's up here. Have you ever heard of I don't know, Final Fantasy?
Which one?
The first one.
No, because the first 6 didn't come out in the West.
The one that launched the franchise. Have you ever heard of Super Mario Brothers? Have you ever heard of Legend of Zelda?
Oh, games I haven't played.
I'm just gonna quickly cross out the friendly part of the.
Yeah.
I would, but I can't
come on.
watch the redroid. No, that's not my only argument.
This is the first Nintendo product I've ever owned.
I mean,
We were a Sega household.
I was a Sega household. I just got done explaining that I was a Sega household. But NES at the moment, anyway. I'm going all politician on this bitch. Like, I'm not willing to rule anything out at any point. But right now, it's a hill I am willing to die on. For those reasons, for the fact that the NES came along and kind of saved the games industry. After the crash. I mean, you remember the documentary about E.T., the video game that was so unpopular they had to bury it in landfills. At a time when the video game industry was being flooded with subpar games, and there was just too much, and it couldn't sustain itself, which isn't now. It's
Yeah, don't make any jokes about Valve, right?
It was 30 years ago. Like, it came along and it did and it curated and it said, look, we're only going to release games with a Nintendo seal of approval. And it launched some of the biggest, I mean, Nintendo owned especially, some of the biggest games, like games we still have today. Like, how many video game series have lasted as long as Super Mario Brothers or Legend of Zelda or Final Fantasy? Like, these games all started on the NES. And sure, like, apart from potentially with the exception of Super Mario Brothers, like, the first game in the series wasn't the best game in the series. I mean, that's how it works, right? You don't want it to be the greatest thing and then not the greatest thing as time goes on. But I mean, that's where all these things came from, man. That's why that NES that I put on this list, as obviously you can tell this was my pick, doesn't have an S in front of it. I feel like the games that were on the SNES were better, but the NES was more impactful. And also, the reason I got a Master System instead of an NES was because my neighbours had an NES, so I could borrow it from time to time. And it was quite fun, because we'd trade consoles for like a few days. And they'd get stuck with the Master System and the Master System games. And I feel like I got the better end of that deal, because I was playing like Mario and stuff. It was one of those weird things, though, where, like, I never played the original Final Fantasies. It said it never came out on the NES. I think it came out on the PlayStation eventually. But, like, I never played the original Zelda because those were nerd games, and the people who lived around me didn't buy nerd games.
Was that Russell just spinning in his bed / grave?
Probably. I mean, I don't want to say grave because that's pretty morbid. But, yeah, no.
You've seen how he sleeps. It is the sleep of the dead.
Unfortunately, I have, yes. Yeah, so I dig my heels in yet again.
Okay. Yogo!
We've started. Okay, well, I'm going to go almost next door for my next pick. For something to cut. We're going to get something off this list eventually, I swear to God. I'm going to stick with the Nintendo family of consoles, and I am going to nominate the Switch to be cut. Now, is the Switch a fantastic console? Yes, it is. I've already eaten all of the humble pie on how I talked about the Switch after it was revealed versus where I'm at now. Is it, if we were having this discussion in 2 or 3 or 5 years' time, would I be talking about cutting Nintendo Switch? Possibly not. Right now, it's very young. And right now, it has some fantastic games on it, for sure. And I love everything, almost everything about it. I don't love the party chat option. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. I love the fact that they brought Tetris Battle Royale out onto it. Super Mario Odyssey is one of my favorite games of the last 10 years. I wasn't so hot on Breath of the Wild, but I can't deny the fact that it is one of the most popular games of ever. Just ever.
Yeah. The only game really to outsell
the console it was released on launch day. Yes, I remember that. It's a fantastic games console that I'm not gonna argue that it could potentially, if we did a list like this again at some point in the future, that it could potentially be on the top 5. But right now, it's not that console versus everything else that we've got to debate through.
I mean, part of me feels like on this principle, I should refuse to let that go. But yeah, I want to acknowledge how, like, okay, the humble pie we ate on the idea of a console you could take away, like, and play with your friends and stuff. I've certainly haven't. I don't use it I've used it more this year than I have the PlayStation 4, but I haven't used it as much as the PlayStation 4, even the amount of time I've owned it, probably because I've played like 100 plus hours on Persona 5. But yeah, I can acknowledge that it's a good console.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a brilliant piece of innovation.
So
and let it slide down to the 11th slot.
I mean, again, there's no order beyond the top 5. This is number 6. All we're doing is we're figuring out.
This is like the 4th round of games.
All we're doing is we're figuring out what number 6 is. It just so happens that there's going to be 6 number 6s. But yeah, no, like, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It's like when you get to a top. This is why I said a top 5 for this friendly debate instead of a top 10, because it's so much more difficult. But what it does is it lets you cut things you wouldn't ordinarily go cut from a list, just to say, yes, I said it, I did my piece, I spoke up for it, but yes, it probably shouldn't be on a top 5. But anyway, I digress. We finally got something off the list. Keith, take it away. We're on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
What you got?
Are we though? Because we just hit one thing, and I feel like we're going to smack into another roadblock. The PlayStation 2. And I look up on that face, and I
was holding a very unfortunate facial expression when you said it, and I was like, I'm trying not to hold it, but it's like, shit. Why?
What did the PlayStation 2 really give us? How did it innovate the console industry?
A DVD?
All it really did was like succeed when its main competition had fallen by the wayside. I mean, by competition, I mean Sega kind of went straight into making games because, yeah, their console did not take off.
And publishing games. Like Yakuza. Which is a good thing.
Second time you mentioned it.
I feel like if anyone sees this video, just based on that description of the PlayStation 2's impact on the history of video games alone, I mean, this video is going to get erased from the internet by the sheer number of dislikes it's going to get. I mean, okay, let me preface this by saying I put this on the list, of course, and that is the console that I was like thinking, like, it's controversial, but I would be willing to cut it as soon as we get to it. Because, one, we need to start cutting some fucking consoles off this list. And two, see what I did there?
Yeah.
Like, the PlayStation 2 was an amazing console. Like, I didn't get one until after the generation was already over. It was a late pickup for me. It had so many fantastic games on it. The original Shadow of the Colossus. And games like Ico. That was where we played Guitar Hero for the first time. Like, that was the thing about the generation, and this might be why only one of these 3 consoles made it onto this list. The thing about the generation of PS2, GameCube, and Xbox was something weird happened to my game playing habits, and I was basically just playing World of Warcraft and Halo 2. Like, for almost an entire generation of games.
To be honest,
So
Halo 2 was the best like multiplayer game of that generation.
my gaming turned social. So I recognize that the PlayStation 2 is one of the best selling consoles of all time. It was a fantastic machine. There's a reason why it sold so well. My overriding memories of the PlayStation 2 were playing Guitar Hero with my friends, or playing Resident Evil 4 with my friends. It had backwards compatibility, so I could still play all my PS1 games, which was nice. And I understand why the PS3 didn't have backwards compatibility and why PS4 doesn't as well. We'll probably get into that in another round. But no, I mean, like, I don't have a solid defense of the PS2 purely from a personal point of view, because, like, I'm not the best person who's best equipped to defend PS2 in a way that someone else could, which is one of the reasons why we say at the beginning of these things it's purely subjective and this is purely personal opinion. Do I think objectively PS2 deserves to be a top 5 game console of all time? Absolutely. Just for the number of units it sold and for the impact it had on the video game industry, totally. If I was building this list by myself, would I put PS2 on the top 5? Absolutely not. And I doubt Keith would either.
To be honest, I hadn't thought I had any interaction with it because I hadn't realised that's what we were playing Rock Band on. Because I was PC.
Oh no, we played Rock Band on the Xbox 360. It was
Right.
Guitar Hero we played on the PlayStation 2. Because it was like, that was where it first came out, PS2.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I haven't played Rock Band or not Guitar Hero. Because, just a brief thing about my console habits, my first console was the Sega Saturn, and then the Xbox 360. I skipped the Xbox, and in between that gap, all I had was a PC, and I was playing Neverwinter Nights in like World of Warcraft.
So, that was you, wasn't it?
Yep.
So I
you
guess
got
it's
to
me. I guess it's me. Keith, I'm going after one of my own consoles.
Right.
And I'm going to tell a story much like the one that you told that made me not be able to remove the Master System for a while.
Feel like a
possibly
monster.
ever. It could be number one, purely because I don't want to feel like a monster. It's the Atari 2600. Now, again, legacy, impact, like, I understand all of that. Like, it basically birthed the video game industry, like, as we now know it today. I mean, it came with a joystick instead of a controller, so I always dock it points for that. But, like, I played this console so long ago that I just have, like, brief flashes of playing, like, Space Invaders and Pac-Man on it. I remember it wasn't even our console. It was a friend of my dad's who was a gamer. And when we used to go around there, we used to play on the Game Boy, the original, and the Atari 2600. And I remember one time he let me take it home for like a week. And I had an Atari 2600 for a week. And let me tell you something, I did not play on my Master System for a week. It was awesome. Like, and again, it's in terms of like taking off my childhood memories hat and putting on my game critic / game commentator hat, like, it probably had the most impact out of any of these games consoles just on the games industry in general, but because it birthed it and then it nearly killed it. But yeah, I think I'm not going to get it into the top 5. I don't really want to get it into the top 5. So I'm willing to sacrifice it at the altar, just so we have the same amount of crosses as we do stars. If you have any objections to that.
No, I don't have any objections. I figured it was going to be mostly because it had a massive impact on the games industry. It birthed it, as you say, pretty much.
I mean, I can't really fault like anyone who would say it nearly also destroyed the games industry as well, but you know, that's neither here nor there. Focus on the positives. That's what we try to do here with Friendly Debates. So, 6 rounds in, we've cut 3 games. Here's the list and what's left. We have the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 4, the NES, the Nintendo 64, the Sega Master System 2, the Sega Saturn, the Xbox 360, and the Xbox One. We are down to 8 games consoles. Take it away, Keith.
I'm gonna have to think. I think go after one of my own consoles here.
Yes, because obviously at 11, whereas we both made a list of 7 consoles, so that Keith knows as well as I do that there are 3 that we've both picked.
Yeah, and I know that every time I go after one of yours, I come against stiff opposition.
To be fair, you went after one of yours and you came after stiff opposition because you found one of the ones that I also put down.
Yeah. Yeah. Which one's that? I'm gonna take a shot at the Xbox One.
State your case.
I've played the Xbox One more than I have played any other console. I believe. I'm playing it quite a lot at the moment. Occasionally keep looking into Resident Evil 2, but mostly Titanfall at the moment. Titanfall 2. Oh man, I played massive amount of Halo, and there are a lot of games that come out on it that I just completely blank because I don't play sports games or card games, or a lot really.
Except Outrun.
I love playing on it. I love this Game Pass that they've created. Initially, I loved the backwards compatibility of it. I loved the idea of sticking Halo Reach in and just blasting away on what perhaps one of my most favorite games ever. Perhaps my most favorite shooter ever is like campaign-wise is Halo Reach. And I loved the idea of just going back and playing that. I loved a lot of the stuff they've done with it. I love the fact it's a Blu-ray player because it meant that I just had to have a console. I love the way it was like. I love just the way the settings on this thing work as opposed to other consoles. There's a joke just for Amy because she'll know what I was looking at. It works so well, and there's some great games in it, and I could love it more. If Persona 5 had came up on it, I would never, ever, I would still be regretting purchasing PlayStation 4. It is a wonderful I know it's like twice the size of my other consoles, but I love it. But it's not the winning console in this console race, is it? It hasn't really. Everything that's been done for it is being done on other Xbox consoles. There isn't a great amount of there isn't a great amount of first party games and stuff. And I know Xbox is fixing this, but I don't think it's going to get fixed for this console generation. People, when it comes to the writing histories and stuff, as much as I love it, people are going to skip it by. It's Xbox One and the Xbox 360. That was the best one. Then it'd be Scarlet or whatever in the future, and people are going to forget about it. And I don't think it really belongs on this on a top 5 list because of that. But I think it deserves a mention for how much I use and love it.
Well, people may forget about it, but we won't. That's not a plot twist. I'm not putting a star next to it. I agree. I think it still suffers from 2013 and what Don Mattrick tried to make it. I think it's a fantastic games console. I think sales do not denote quality. And neither does horsepower. The Switch is obvious proof of that. I feel like it's the test bed. It's become the test bed for what the next Xbox is going to be.
Yeah.
In terms of Game Pass, backwards compatibility, all of the services and features that they're now putting onto this console are setting themselves up really well for Xbox Scarlet, which makes this console really unique in terms of video game history, in that if Scarlet is as amazing as we think it's going to be, then it's going to have the Xbox One to thank for it, because it wouldn't be as amazing if they weren't in second place to PlayStation so massively, because when you're in second place, you do things like Game Pass.
Yeah.
And it's just a great console in its own right. I play a lot of third-party games on my Xbox purely just because I have one of these, an Xbox Elite controller. It's a fucking amazing controller, and I love it so much because it's got paddles. This is why I play games like Apex Legends and Overwatch on my Xbox, because I feel like I can actually use a controller, because I can't use a mouse and keyboard very well. So I agree, it's probably not a top 5 games consoles of all time, even in a subjective capacity, but yes, it is a very good console, and I'm glad we recognized it on this list. And I am totally not stalling for time while I try to figure out where the fuck I am gonna go from here. There are 7 games consoles left on this list. PlayStation, PlayStation 4, NES, and Nintendo 64, Sega Master System 2, Sega Saturn, and Xbox 360. Keith, I feel like an absolute just monster to do this. But I got to get it out of the way. I got to go with the Sega Saturn. And just say... it's a very Sega console. In terms of if they'd launched it as the next console, like if there'd been something and then the Sega Saturn, and then it probably would have stood a better chance, because Sega had this habit of releasing consoles that were before their time. Like we saw with most epically, everybody remembers the Dreamcast, because obviously that was the one that eventually finished them. Whereas if the Dreamcast had been later, it would have probably been okay. They did it with the Mega CD, where they announced, they attached the Mega CD to the Mega Drive. If they just released that as its own console in place of the Saturn, and then the Saturn had come after it, we'd probably be talking about current generation Sega consoles. Saturn gets overlooked and kind of ridiculed a lot, and I feel like it doesn't deserve it, because it did have a lot of great games on it, as I'm sure you can attest, because like you said, you aren't one. It had the Resident Evils and the Command and Conquers, because it was quite an advanced console. Unfortunately, the reason it didn't do so well, and I don't want to use the word failed, I hate using the word failed. The reason it didn't do so well was because it was difficult to develop games for games developers, which is why you saw Resident Evil, but you then didn't see any of the following Resident Evil games. It was a cool little console. It had Dragon Force on it, so just for that reason alone, I'm glad it's in this discussion. Because that was our most played game for a while, I would imagine. But is it a top 5 games console? No, probably not. And I still don't feel comfortable talking about the other Sega console that's on this list. So, with that being said,
I mean, you bring me up that. I mean, I played so much of the original Command and Conquer on the Sega Saturn, and I remember Russell disappearing during his turns in D&D
to play Dragon Force.
Yeah. Yeah. I also remember you specifically saying to me, it's like, wait, your brother got PlayStations and you got a Sega Saturn. Did your parents hate you?
Look, right, I'm a sarcastic person.
Yeah.
I make sarcastic comments. This is not what the friendly debate is about, though.
Yeah, I did look at some. I mean, some of my memories of the Sega Saturn are coloured by things like my brother playing, everyone going on about how wonderful like Final Fantasy VII is, and then it didn't come to Saturn. What we got was Shining and the Holy Ark, which apparently is a brilliant game. Was like a noteworthy game in the Shining series. I don't know if you've played any of those games.
Nope.
No, what I remember is that like the sheer insanity of having to have like the monthly Sega magazine, incredibly sexist. Well, to be honest, I think a lot of the
most of the magazines back then were pretty bad.
Yeah, but yeah, I do remember that game because I had to look up in a magazine like to find out where some of these sprites that could help me at the beginning of a fight were, because they were just randomly hidden in they were just hidden in wall panels, which were like pixel blocks or the floor blocks and stuff, and you wouldn't know they were there. You could walk past them 100 times. Nothing would ever tell you that they were there. You just randomly click on a block. There are millions of blocks in that game. Why did they think that was a good idea?
Why?
I mean, the story was good. It had a mixture of like pixels and like bright, which was apparently a new thing back then. I remember us playing like the cartoony fighting games that we loved. I have a little bit of like,
Proton cannon.
I have memories of the Sega Saturn, so maybe I have nostalgia of it. But I don't mind it getting cut off the list if it means that other game consoles get on there.
Yeah. Like I say, it was a cool little console, and we probably got more enjoyment out of it than most.
Yeah.
It was a shame what happened to Sega. I was this close to adding Dreamcast to the list. Then I added something else instead, which has been cut. So, I believe that puts the ball back in your court. If we successfully cut one more console, we'll be into the final the second phase of friendly debate.
Yeah. So I'll go with the PlayStation 1. And the eyes go
You're doing
wide.
this to me on purpose, aren't you?
The most pirated console ever, I believe.
No comment.
Yes. Yeah.
Although,
that,
just
like,
to be clear, just in case anyone tries to take that quote out of context, I'm going to follow it up with, I didn't pirate games for the PS1. I didn't have to. I've said this before on many podcasts. My mom worked at Blockbuster when I had a PS1, so I could rent games for free. Didn't need to pirate them.
yeah.
Might have known many people who did, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, because of the way the internet worked back when the PlayStation 1 was out, it was very easy to find detailed instructions. And we would occasionally, when we worked at the library at the high school, see people looking at such material when we were making sure that they weren't looking at porn, because that's all we were told not to make them look at.
Yeah, we were very letter of the law when we used to enforce those rules.
Well, you are learning how to chip a PlayStation 1, but that's not what I'm looking for, so I'll go check with the guy sitting in the corner.
It was so much hassle to chip a PlayStation, if I remember correctly, and there was a chance you'd get blinded by the console's laser.
Actually, maybe I shouldn't discuss how to do this.
No, let's not discuss how to do this. My YouTube channel is small. I can't fight Sony.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel bad for Sony. I mean, it's like they created games console because they got gypped by Nintendo, and then people on the internet start discussing how easy it is to basically with CD write a new game and get the PlayStation to accept it as one. It was fighting the Sega Saturn. I'm not going for tribalism here. I did play a little bit of it because my brother let me play some Final Fantasy VII and sit and watch him play other games and that. So I have seen it played. I think there are other game systems that deserve to be higher up than it, and I'm going in to make sure that they survive to get on this list, and I'm going to attack someone else's pick instead of mine.
You went for the PlayStation because you knew I would have to respond by ensuring it gets past the cut period, the first phase of the thing. That was why my eyes went.
Fangirl.
That was why my eyes went wide because in the first episode we figured out the rough format. In the second episode, we figured out some other bits and bobs like trades and stuff like that. And now in the third episode, we found out that strategy is a thing. So, as Keith goes after what he knows is my favorite video game console of all time, I will rebut everything that he said by saying one is my favorite video game console of all time. Like, it's where I went from being a casual gamer to actually being a gamer. Like, it's where I started on the path to where I've ended up now, where it's like, we talk about video games on YouTube, and we play them on Twitch, and we review video games. Like, I was in the unique position of being able to play pretty much anything I wanted to play. Because, as I said, like, I could rent games for free, so I could play games in, like, 3-day bursts. So you talk like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX, XCOM, the original XCOM. I remember I got that on PlayStation. That birthed another lifelong love of another franchise. You got Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Silent Hill, like Alien Trilogy, Gran Turismo. Somehow became a thing that we all played all the time, despite the fact that none of us really liked driving games, but it was mostly just because you could turn the suspension all the way up on the cars, and every time you turned a corner, it just started bouncing like fucking crazy.
I rebut that with Game Over, yeah! It was positive Game Over from Sega Rally Championship.
I mean, Ridge Racer was another one. Porsche Challenge, it was a game I could play with my dad. Like, my dad doesn't play games, but we played Porsche Challenge together. We had Mortal Kombat. We had Command and Conquer Red Alert. When we used to play System Link, and we would decided we weren't going to let each other look at each other's screens. So me and Russell very dangerously got his brother to extend the System Link cable. And gave me the disclaimer just before we started using it as this might cause a fire. And I was like, okay, whatever, let's just play. So he's up here in this room, dangling a System Link cable out the window and into the living room below me while it was raining.
This is a three-story house, and the living room was on the second floor.
No, this was here. This was in this house when we did this.
All right.
So yeah, there's stuff like that. There's like Medal of Honor. Like we used to play. Terrible game. Like in terms of like if you try to play the original Medal of Honor again, just remember that there was a time when we used to have to try and play first-person shooters with controllers that didn't have analog sticks. Go look at your PS4 controller right now and imagine it without analog sticks, and then imagine trying to play a first-person shooter. Well, you can't look up and down. So, or was it you couldn't look up and down and you couldn't strafe? Just imagine that. Anyway, Bushido Blade was an amazing game. And Keith knows very damn well that I'm not going to let this go off the list. And I've spent a lot of time stalling, talking up the merits of the original PlayStation and how much it means to me. And I keep glancing to my right as I'm looking over at this list thinking, what can I give him that'll get the PlayStation through to the final 5? And I'm going to have to give you another PlayStation, aren't I? We're going to have to sacrifice the one that's sitting less than a foot away from my head to keep the PlayStation 1 in contention. And you're a motherfucker.
PlayStation? To get a PlayStation on the list?
You're a motherfucker. Well, I'm not going to sacrifice the friggin' Master System. Not after that story. And the two consoles that we haven't even talked about on this list, and I'm not getting rid of either of them. So, yeah. PlayStation 4. Like, do you accept my terms?
I accept.
I knew you would, you motherfucking... We're down to the final 5, everybody. It finally happened. Here's the whiteboard as it stands right now. We have 5 out of 11. We said goodbye to the Atari 2600. We said goodbye to the PlayStation 2. We said goodbye to the PlayStation 4. I don't think I'm going to forget this.
We said goodbye to the current console generation.
Yeah, we did. We said goodbye to the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox One. And, of course, we said goodbye to the Sega Saturn. That leaves us with the following 5 consoles. The PlayStation 1, the NES, the Nintendo 64, the Sega Master System 2, and the Xbox 360. So, how this works now, instead of us taking turns deciding what we want to cut and making counterpoints, now we make pitches. So we start at number 5 and we work our way up. One of us will make a pitch. The other person will either agree with that pitch or will counter that pitch with a pitch of their own of a different game's console. It's a little bit different. It's where it gets a bit dicier because we definitely have to collaborate on where we're going to put things in the list. Yeah. I hope my competitor, which, you know, at first I used to think you were a collaborator. Now I realize we're in competition.
Well, to get the whole thing of being collaborative across, I'll make the first pitch, okay? Number 5, the Sega Master System 2.
Do you have any more? Do you want any more like heartstrings you want to try and tug on? Will we?
No, I mean, I'm fairly sure I can get it in the number 1. To be honest,
you ain't fucking wrong. But
No, let's put it in the 5.
how's this for a plot twist, Keith? I want to counter that. And I want to counter that by making a pitch to put the Xbox 360 at number 5.
No.
But it's not as... Just
No way.
be a motherfucking... I'm gonna... Honestly... Just... You didn't even let me speak. But okay. Sega... Just because it had Halo Reach on it, guess what? Halo 2 was better. That's me promoting our next friendly debate. Well, I suppose if I try to pitch Xbox 360 at number 4, I'm going to get shot down too, aren't I?
Well, try it and we'll see what the discussion turns out like.
Right. Xbox 360 was a fantastic console. Guess what? It was the one I owned in that console generation. I didn't have a PS3 for more than a month. Long story, personal details, not going to go into it. And the Wii I had, like, I technically owned one. And I definitely played Zelda. That one. No. The one that came out when the console... Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
I definitely played Twilight Princess on it. Didn't play Skyward Sword because I'd gotten rid of it by then because I wasn't really into the Wii. That's why it's not on this list. But as a games console with games, it was awesome. It had Left 4 Dead. It had Alan Wake. It had Halo 3. It had Halo Reach. It also had Halo ODST, which, you know... I mean, that's a minus one as far as I'm concerned. Great voice actors. Not a great game. But... And in terms of like multiplayer fun, it was what kept me connected to you and Ross, because there was a time when I used to live far, far away, and the only time we would chat is when we were playing Call of Duty, or we were playing Left 4 Dead, or we were playing Halo games. So for that reason, it's a very special console for me because it let me continue like two of my strongest friendships, which still endure to this day. I realize I'm arguing against myself when I say things like this, but in terms of the other 3 consoles that are left, there are 2 I would be very strongly hesitant to put below it, and it comes down to me for the 4 that are left in terms of like, yes, there's nostalgia and memories involved in all 4 of these consoles for me. It comes down to legacy and impact, and Xbox 360 was a fantastic console that pulled a PS4 because it kind of took advantage of the fact that PS3 shit the bed, then fell out of the bed, then pissed all over the bed, then the bed caught fire.
I was waiting for the fire bit to start.
Like, yeah, there's always a fire, but like, I mean, if you think Xbox One's reveal was bad, man, you didn't see the worst E3 conference in history. That wasn't run by
I can't remember. Did they say you should get a loan or you should get a second?
You should get a second job if you want to buy a PlayStation 3. I love the fact that the Xbox 360 had different models for different people. There was the Core, there was the Arcade. Later, they came out with the Elite. I love the fact that you could take the hard drive off. Didn't love the fact that I had to own 4 of them because they were notorious for breaking.
Yeah, that is a minus point that when they first came out, they didn't have the rendering depth.
Like, I had 2 Core models and 2 Elite models because I kept getting all sorts of problems with them. I was playing Tomb Raider at one point, and I dropped a thing on a crack, and then it killed my Xbox. At that exact moment, a fucking error message thing came up. I didn't even go blank. A literal, coding error message thing came up about my hard drive. And if you want a funny story, I sold a broken Xbox to Game because they didn't check them. And I do feel bad about that. Very long time ago.
Exhibit A, Your Honor. I mean, you've mentioned something I want to talk about there, which is the impact this console had on us personally. And this is the first ever gaming console that I bought myself. This was even before I started buying PC components, PCs, because the first PC I owned personally was given to me for working at uni. Yeah, because I have a learning disability. Now, they never specifically said I couldn't put other stuff on there. I did play a lot of Warcraft on there.
I put Dragon Age and Warcraft on it.
Yeah. I mean, I did use briefly the Speak and Write software, which is on there, which is very expensive, but also was creepy as hell when someone started reading out your dissertation. Creeped my mother out quite badly. This vaguely American woman just randomly talking in the background. But it's like, let's look at these games. Halo 3, Halo Reach, Left 4 Dead 2, Destiny, Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team.
Destiny wasn't on the Xbox 3. Oh, it was on the Xbox 360. Fuck, yeah, sorry, continue.
And Space Marine.
Space Marine.
Yeah, we have a lot of memories of those games.
I've got a lot
because
of
we
yeah.
played them. I have so many memories of Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team. No one else can remember that. I don't think it ever had a physical sale.
It was a digital game.
Yeah. Look at it. It was fun just to play because we used to sit on the bed when he came up, and we would just play these games, or we would play them online. Its gold service, you had to pay, allowed people to connect and stay connected in a way that I don't think the PlayStation managed. And I think it was like the start of the sort of online communities and societies and stuff. I mean, clans, I think was what they referred to them like back then, like started. It didn't start esports, but it did start the whole sort of like group mentality of sort of like the non-pro professionals that would go for like, oh yeah, I'm totally a pro gamer. Or like, and there's definitely sort of like that group mentality and maybe a bit of the tribalism. Or maybe I just noticed it more after. Yeah. But it had a big social impact on myself, and you've mentioned obviously that it had a big social impact on yourself for keeping in touch with people. And I think it started, or at least this is what I trace it back to, the idea that men could have social interaction and contact with other men. And it didn't have to be going down to the pub drinking or standing on a football terrace. It started to become like more, not acceptable, but more commonly known that like men, like adult men, would like sit and play games and talk to other men over the internet. And I know this isn't good. I was really hoping to get it to like number one, but I know that's not going to happen.
You haven't actually made your counter argument yet.
This is my counter argument.
But remember, the rules have changed. It's the top 5. I need to know what you would want to put at number 4. Unless you were just giving in.
That was me, giving me a rebuttal, and I'm looking, and I'm trying to figure out which one, because there's a couple we haven't really mentioned on here.
There's one.
Well, one. I kind of put it on there, like, half for a joke I was hoping to make if you chose it. But we're going to go in with the Nintendo 64. Proof, if we ever needed it, that Nintendo was run by otherworldly beings whose anatomy does not match the human form.
Oh, well, you've put me in a really awkward position here. Like, you may continue if you want about talking about the N64.
Yeah, the Nintendo 64 is a console I didn't own because obviously the Switch is the first Nintendo product I've owned. I have played a fair few hours on it, mostly of one game.
Perfect Dark. We played Perfect Dark a lot. And GoldenEye.
Yes, we did. We did play Perfect Dark. And I'm remembering now in the Rare Bundle how weird it was to try and play a game where you were so used to 2 sticks.
Yeah, right? Like, it wasn't built for that. It was
yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I forgot who played. I remembered GoldenEye more than that. But yes, we did play Perfect Dark. I remember us playing games on that console, and it was fun. But mostly I would just remember it back for the jokes, because the controller was such a weird...
Yeah, it had 3 things to hold on to. Like, the fuck, Nintendo? The fuck?
I have seen pictures of people playing it like professionally, just like look at the hand and playing. How did you manage that? How?
Yes, so you convinced me before you even mentioned a console. To put that in at number 4. That's why I was like, Are you going to mention a console at some point? Because you've already convinced me that it shouldn't be. It should be higher than number 4. Like,
Yeah.
I practically convinced myself when I was saying it should be at number 4, and then you just pushed me across the finish line of being like, yeah, you're right. This should definitely be higher. I'm going to make a pitch for number 3, and it's going to be the NES for all the reasons that I talked about before.
Yeah.
I was going into this top 5 convinced I was going to carry it up to number 2 for all of the Legend of Zeldas and the Final Fantasies and the save the game the industry and the Nintendo seal of quality. And now I'm like, yeah, but remember what you said at the beginning of this episode, Amy? It's not necessarily an objective list.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've reminded me about how huge the Xbox 360 was in terms of it's just impact on my life, not necessarily the games industry. And I mean, I fall into this trap all the time when we're covering, because we cover the industry. Like, sometimes I think about it in terms of it's an industry. I'm thinking about the industry stuff when I'm doing games critique. I'm critiquing games, so I've got to think about them in a certain way. And sometimes I do kind of lose myself to that and forget about the memories and the fond times. And, you know, the fact that while I will always critique Destiny when it comes up, we still had a hell of a lot of fun playing that game when it first came out.
Yeah, then we realised there was no content at the end of the story.
So if you don't have any argument, I'm going to put the NES in at number 3.
No argument. I did try and cut it earlier on. I'm definitely not going to argue about you.
And then, if you don't mind, sorry, this is kind of your argument has kind of just rolled things over in my head. I'd like to make a pitch to put Xbox 360 at number 2. And I feel like we've both already done the thing.
Yeah, it's like, I can't argue against that. All I've got is coming back there. You've definitely pegged to the fangirl now. And that's the only argument I've got left.
PlayStation, I wouldn't, like, if I didn't get a PS1, it's a confluence of events. If I didn't get a PS1 and I didn't like have a parent who worked at Blockbuster Video, I might not have even gone into games as much as I did.
Yeah.
So that's it for me personally. Like, to be honest, another good Xbox 360 argument from you might even push me over the top again. And considering I tried to put this at number 5 when we started doing the final standings, like, that's fucking impressive. Like, this is a bigger carry job than me getting Ash into the top 5 of the Overwatch characters.
Yeah, I mean,
wherever this ends up.
I made a list of games that's like to like mention to you, and I'm just trying to like remember. It's like Gears of War. And it's like
Wrong
I
direction.
wasn't a massive fan of that. And it's like, yeah, I'm like, it's like I'm pretty sure you didn't play Modern Warfare 2 on that.
I did actually, but
did you?
Yeah, I mean it was another one. It was another one of those that me and Russ. I didn't have a PS3. I didn't have a PS3. I got a PS3 long enough to play Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
And a bit of Prototype, and then someone took it for reasons that were perfectly legitimate. It didn't get stolen, but I didn't own it for very long.
I'm trying to remember. It's like Lost Odyssey.
Lost Odyssey was fantastic, but do you know who it was from the creators of? Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, Fable 2. I'm
so stuck.
Z. No, I'm struggling to think. Yeah.
I feel like at this point I am just going to counter every game you come with another game.
Yeah. Can you really diss, like, a game because they produced a better game before it?
It's not that I'm dissing it. I fucking love Lost Odyssey. I just like Final Fantasy VII more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can understand that.
But at the same time, I understand that this is meant to be a collaborative list, and PS1 is specifically related to me, whereas Xbox 360 is specifically related to both of us, and that's how I solve that.
Yourself! I didn't think that was going to happen. I mean,
Be honest, where did you think Xbox 360 was actually going to end up?
I was going into this trying to get it to 1. When we started the thing you tried to put it at 5, I was like, I'm going to die on a hill with my back broken, and it's maybe going to get to 3.
Or maybe I didn't expect it to get all the way up, but maybe I just did to you what you did to me and went for something to get the Master System in at number 5 without seeming like a cold-hearted bitch. I did it the only way I could. And then you just blitzkrieged like my emotions again. Like, if there's anything that we can take away from this episode of Friendly Debate, number 1, it's the best episode we've done yet by far. And number 2 is apparently Keith can just play me emotionally like a fucking, like, he's the puppet master and I just dance for him. I'm starting to wonder. Think back to previous episodes of Friendly Debate. Did I actually do any of those things, or did Keith do all of those things? I just thought I did.
This is the one we fought the most on because was it 6 rounds before we cut anything?
You tried to cut the PS4, and then I tried to cut the Master System too, and then you tried to cut the NES, and then we did start cutting things. And then you went after the PS1 to make sure that something else got through. That the PS4 didn't get in. Yeah. Although, to be fair, I was 50-50 on whether to get the PS4 or the N64. Then I thought, nah, I'm going to get the PS4 through more than the N64. But anyway, I digress. Here is the final list of games. So, for this episode of Friendly Debate, the top 5 games consoles of all time by us. Again, incredibly personal, subjective list. Objectivity barely featured into it, as you can tell if you've listened to this discussion for the last 10 minutes. From the list of Atari 2600, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 4, NES, Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch, Sega Master System 2, Sega Saturn, Xbox 360, and Xbox One, we have at number 5, the Sega Master System 2. At number 4, the N64. At number 3, the NES. At number 2, the PlayStation 1. And at number 1, the Xbox 360. The official number 1 games console of Words About Games.
Which I think is perhaps the only console that all of us on Words About Games have owned.
Well played. I think we might... No, yeah, you're right. You're right. But well played, Q. That was... You took the Xbox 360 from where I wanted to put it, and then you convinced me to put it all the way up here.
To be honest, you're just like, after they kept in touch, I was like, yeah, it did. And I was like, I was just going to put having the fact that we used to keep in touch, and then you reminded me, like, that generation of game consoles was the one.
Yeah, because it's like we didn't have Skype, we didn't have Discord,
yeah,
we didn't have unlimited minutes.
Yeah, it was like MSN Messenger was how people used to talk.
Yeah, and it sucked, but it was all we had.
Yeah.
Like, this is the higher watermark for Friendly Debate.
Yeah.
Going forward, like, I can't believe, like, I was like, I can't believe you did that to me, but it's like, I can't believe you did that to me, because I kind of did it to myself first, and then you just hammered home all of the salient points in my argument. I'm not sure you expected me to just keep rolling higher and higher.
No, I didn't. I thought, like, I'm going to make a massive point to get this to 3, and then you're just like, no, it's not going to 3.
It's at least going to 2, and then I kind of took over the list, like, which is another first for Friendly Debates. It was like, we had a big debate about 5, and then I just went, fuck it, I know what the rest of the list already looks like. But I don't think you minded.
No, I didn't. I mean, I made a list of the game we used to play, sit on my bed, play ones which may not have even been good. I didn't even mention the, oh look, Hellfire the Psychic Excursion.
Yeah, I'll tell you what game.
How could that end well?
I'll tell you what game you didn't try and get me on. Bastion. You missed Bastion.
I came to Bastion so late. I came to Bastion on PC.
You did, but I didn't. I bought it on Summer of Arcade when it very first came out. and
I
told
should
you
have
about
mentioned robotics.
it. Because that entered my head when you were talking about games, but I didn't say it because at the time I wasn't trying to get it up to the top of the list. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of Final Line Debate. I think we're onto a winner as far as like these types of videos go.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoying them. I hope you are as well. Again, just to read it off: number 5, Sega Master System 2; number 4, Nintendo 64; number 3, NES; number 2, PlayStation 1; and number 1, Xbox 360. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. We've got a fun one planned. It's not going to be as long because there's not as many entries we can possibly pick from. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.